Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the iDebate server. I'm the moderator for tonight's debate, Apologetics, and the topic will be Should the United States adopt democratic socialism? Arguing in the affirmative with the blue name is the iFunny user Religionisbullshit, an anti theist and liberal proponent, while arguing in the negative with the red name is the iFunny user OhManMyBad, an atheist activist and conservative political commentator. Each debater will be given a 5-minute opening argument. After each debater has given their opening, they will then have 10 minutes to rebut their opponents. After the rebuttals, they will have 20 minutes of open dialogue, asking each other questions with as minimal interruptions as possible. After the dialogue, they will both offer a 5-minute closing. This will conclude the debate, at which point we will allow audience members to connect and ask questions to the debaters. The debaters will only answer questions they are directly asked, so if you wish to hear both people answer, make sure to ask both of them. The Q&A will last 30 minutes. After this 30 minutes has expired, the recording will stop, so any further discussion between the debaters or the audience will not be included in the YouTube upload. The rules are quite simple. The debaters will not be allowed to go over time during the opening or they will be muted. The rebuttal, however, will be given 15 to 20 seconds of overlap since the debaters will likely be creating it as we go along. The open dialogue will be as free as possible, and while the debaters are restricted from directly insulting one another at any point during the exchange, profanity will not be censored as long as it is not used gratuitously. If the conversation between the debaters becomes incoherent, I, the moderator, will intervene to bring it back to the point of hand. The closing will also last for no more than 5 minutes or the debater will be muted. During each phase of the debate, I will let the debaters know when they have 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, 10 seconds left, and if they're still talking after their time expires, they will be muted and we will move on to the next phase. The audience is allowed to utilize the text chat, fact check the debaters, and deliberate the topic among themselves. However, you will not be allowed to connect until the Q&A, at which I will select audience members based on a first come, first served basis. You will be assigned the role of questioner and will be allowed to connect to the voice chat. If both debaters understand and agree to the rules, we will go ahead and begin. Religion is bullshit. As the guest to our server this evening, will give your opening statement first. You may start whenever you're ready.
Okay, so I would kind of start off as sort of extending an olive branch and say that people on both sides of the politics aisle need to stop with the lies, smears, and general attacks. One of these that I hear far too often is that socialism and democratic socialism are basically the same thing. Well, if you were to make that case accurately, what you are essentially saying is that there is absolutely no difference in Venezuela and Canada. Obviously, that is a ridiculous statement when you give those two examples, and so we need to stop doing that. Vast majority of people in America already agree with the general democratic socialist policies, according to several Gallup polls, given the topic that is being addressed. Medicare for all, 70% of the country wants it. Free college, 58% of the country wants it. End the wars, only 17% of people want to stay in the active wars right now. Legalize weed, it's 62%. Raise the minimum wage, it's 80%. Raise taxes on people over 10 million. That is 70% from a Fox News poll. And stricter gun laws, over 90% of the country wants it. Given that these are the policies of the progressive left or the Dem Socialist candidates, mainly Bernie and Warren, are fighting for, amongst others, the vast majority of people already agree with them. With so many issues facing America right now, the two biggest issues for everyday people are healthcare and wages. So let's start with healthcare. Over 500,000 people this year will attempt to file bankruptcy over medical bills, only to be told that that is not a valid reason to file, facing financial ruin, loss of jobs, and potentially homelessness as a result. Wages, 78% of people are living paycheck to paycheck, which means that if they miss a paycheck or if they lose their job, they face the same issues as with the lack of healthcare. A $15 minimum wage would not only solve this issue, but it would also address the growing crisis of the working poor, people who are working paycheck to paycheck. Over 60% of people in the United States right now said that if they faced an unexpected bill of $400, they would potentially go bankrupt and they could not afford it. So a 15 minimum wage would solve this issues. Not only that, but it will also get millions of people off of social welfare. A point that the vast majority of the Republicans seem to be pushing at every turn and want to celebrate the more people getting off. I know that I haven't used my 5 minutes, but that's my opening.
All right. Then, OhManMyBad, go ahead.
Okay. I was just resetting my timer real quick. Alright, in this debate I will be contesting the motion that the United States should adopt democratic socialism as the governing economic and political system across the country. The motion itself is predicated on the idea that this system is morally superior to that of a free market constitutional republic, and thus I will be holding my opponent to this burden of proof. On my end, I will present numerous contentions to democratic socialism, starting with this. Democratic socialism is a myth. What I mean by that is the term democratic socialism is not any different than regular socialism, which is the principle that the means of production, distribution, capital, and land belong to all people equally. Voting this system in, as opposed to it being implemented tyrannically, has no effect on its operation. The result remains the same. Invariably, people will not want to surrender their land, wealth, or products, a feat that would be necessary in order to establish a truly democratic socialist state, which, mind you, has never been accomplished before. This can only be done by force. Every nation to have ever attempted this system of governance has failed abysmally, resulting in the deaths of tens of millions of people. My opponent may argue that Venezuela, China, Russia, Vietnam, North Korea, Cuba are not examples of true socialism. You see, the socialists would have you believe that socialism only fails because of authoritarian humans who are power greedy. Even if that were true, how does my opponent expect to overcome such an intrinsic part of the human condition? This political ideology has been so horribly unsuccessful that it cannot even be instituted for any duration of time before crumbling to the might of power-hungry elitists. Socialism depends entirely on the eradication of human greed and corruption, which could only happen if one were to find a way of manipulating the human psyche, mind control more or less. Assuming for a moment that you could find a way of introducing socialism, should you? If it works, is it truly better than a free market constitutional republic? No. Unequivocally, no. The crux of socialism isn't communal living or sharing resources. It's forced equality of outcome. In life, some people will perform better than others, either out of natural ability or sheer force of will. My position is that the people who work the hardest deserve the most. With socialism, your work ethic and dedication are rewarded, they're punished. Instead of excelling beyond your peers who don't put in the same effort as you, you're forcefully held back to maintain pseudo-egalitarianism. This effect derives from the Marxist principle of from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. This seems reasonable on the surface, but in practice devolves into slavery. This would entail that everyone, regardless of their individual productivity, receives the same benefit, same compensation, and same reward. So while the lazy man feels well off, comfortable in a system where he does virtually nothing, and is afforded the same luxuries as the people who slave away producing them, the worker is left to feel unappreciated and drained of ethic. What happens when the means of production are owned by people with no motivation to produce? Production stops. Furthermore, you have the issue of enforcement. Who makes these wheels go round? Why, a democratically elected governing body, of course. Instead of somebody seizing power, you get to vote for your tyrants, which is a much better system, wouldn't you agree? How can anyone have even the remotest amount of authority in such a system and not intrinsically serve as a violation of its foundational principles? It's not possible. Authority figures necessarily have more power over others, which is a form of inequality. How are these people checked? How do we ensure they don't abuse their position? We can't. Concentrated power is not rendered harmless by the good intentions of those who create it. If the mission of democratic socialists is for the means of production to be owned and controlled by the workers, who enforces the control? Lastly, you have the problem of economic growth. Unfortunately, because economic growth is economic change that requires a temporarily painful shifting of resources and workers from older industries that are no longer profitable to newer industries, the prevention of all declines and incomes cannot help but also prevent economic growth. The economy becomes ossified, static, and moribund. So achieving complete protection of all citizens at all times from the risk of failing incomes means not only being ruled by an immensely powerful government with virtually no checks on its discretion, but also the eradication of all prospects of economic growth. Inevitably, at the end of this road paved with the good intention of protecting producers from loss, lies not only serfdom, but widespread poverty. That's my time.
All right. All right, B, go ahead and begin your rebuttal. You have 10 minutes.
Okay.
Wait,
wow.
brief interjection. Brief interjection. Can apologetics and religion? Can you guys mute your mics when I'm talking, and I'll mute my mic when you guys are talking?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead, RB.
Okay, yeah, wow. I honestly don't even know where to start. It's so funny that I started my opening by say let's stop the attack, smears, and lies, and then I pointed to people say that socialism and democratic socialism are the same thing, and then you were saying that Venezuela and Canada are the same thing, and then lo and behold, you brought up Venezuela. I am not here to defend socialism. It's actually on the contrary. It's so weird that you said it. Those are examples of proper socialism, what you gave. The list of countries that you gave are examples of proper socialism. I am not defending those. I am defending countries like Canada, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Greenland, France, Germany, UK, Australia. The list goes on and on and on. These are the countries that and the systems of governments and how they work that the US should adopt. Like if like there is the minimum wage in Australia is higher than what it is in the US, even if it was to be brought up to $15. They are not facing rampant poverty. They are not. They're just not doing that. So all of these things that you are saying, they are not only fear mongering, they are lies and they are myths. Like there is no absolutely no study, no field of studies, no database, no nothing that says if the US adopts democratic socialism that it will face financial ruin, the economy will collapse, etc., etc., etc. All of the things that you said. I am not for a second saying that my point of view is morally superior. Will it objectively lead to better results? Absolutely yes, but they're not. It's not a moral standpoint. It's not a moral stance. You can't say that like. Well, I suppose you can say that one form of politics or one form of running a country is morally superior. That, but that's not what I'm arguing. That's not what I'm using as a pillar that my argument is resting on. So why that was brought up is a mystery to me. Also, this notion of forced equality of outcome. That's not the case. All it's saying is that um if you go into a job where it's the minimum wage, that you will have $15. That is enough to support not only you but also a small family just on its own with only one person working. That's why we want $15 minimum wage. They're not like, just because you have free access to college does not mean that like that everybody is going to graduate or leave with the exact same qualification or the like same types of qualification with the same opportunities to go and work. Obviously some courses, some things that you will study in college will lead to a like much more broader fields in which to go and work in, and not so for others. So this whole equality of outcome thing is just really is I am so caught up on this idea that honestly you of all people are saying are basically saying, even though you didn't actually say it, that socialism and democratic socialism are the exact same thing, when I explained not just now but also in my opening how they are not. So um I don't have it. I didn't take down any other notes. I don't have anything else to um add. So I released the rest of my time.
And oh man, my bad. Go ahead and start yours.
Okay. Well, first, I would like to begin by defining what democratic socialism is. So, if we actually, I'm going to go ahead and Google it. I should have put the definition in my rebuttal, but I didn't. So, if I scroll over here, first result is democratic socialism is a term used to refer to the socialist political policy which advocates political democracy alongside a socially owned economy. Okay, that is no different than actual socialism. You're just voting it in. My opponent presents socialism in an extremely naive fashion, attempting to disguise it as this idealistic utopia where everyone prospers. Socialism is the exact opposite of prosperity, however. It would seem as though he's not arguing on behalf of democratic socialism at all, but rather a free market capitalist economy with more government control and regulation. Much to my expectations, my opponent could not provide any actual examples of functioning democratic socialism. What he did was provide examples of free market countries that are so successful they had the luxury of affording generous government programs to help the poor. And we'll just take a look at these. The first one he mentioned was Canada. Then he mentioned Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Iceland, and a couple others. Denmark is not a socialist country in any sense of the word, or democratic socialist. While it does have high taxes and high government spending, it also has extremely fervent protections on personal property, one of the highest grossing free markets in Europe, and absolutely no minimum wage laws. The Prime Minister, Lars Rasmussen, had this to say regarding Bernie Sanders' claim that Denmark is a beaming example of democratic socialism. I know that some people in the US associate the Nordic model with some sort of socialism. Therefore, I would like to make one thing clear. Denmark is far from a socialist planned economy. Denmark is a market economy. He then mentions Norway. Norway is also a free market country, and though it is true that the government owns most of the wealth and the companies, this has only been possible due to Norway's quasi-monopoly on valuable resources such as natural gas and oil. These things are not what prop up Norway's economy and their immense welfare state. Furthermore, this country also has virtually no restrictions on private business in the market, and like Denmark, it has no minimum wage. Sweden is not only not a capitalist country, but it has been collapsing due to the socialist policies it sought to implement in the middle 2000s. With a personal income tax rate of over 60%, Swedes do enjoy a lot of free stuff, including secondary education, pension, and healthcare. Free, however, rarely equates with good quality, and this is what we see with Sweden. Much like with another country on this list, Swedes are often forced to leave their own country to seek healthcare services and medicine due to widespread shortages across the nation. Source: freedom of economic education. On top of that, hold on, that's my timer. I was timing RIB and he didn't take as much time. On top of that, the crippling taxes only get worse as Sweden falls victim to the pathological altruism of left-wing radical politicians who seek to import hundreds of thousands of foreign people who also receive these same services for free. Canada. Now, this is that other country I was talking about. The most socialist that this country gets is that it takes from the rich and it gives to the poor, which is hardly a fair system. The provinces of Ontario and Alberta are the only net contributors to the economy of the country and are punished for this by having their wealth taken. On top of being morally wrong, this system of taking from the rich to give to the poor is rife with flaws. A family in Alberta with a household income of $30,000 to $40,000 will pay out over $3,000 for equalization payments, while a family in the province of Newfoundland, which has a household income of over $100,000, will receive $1,000 in benefits. Furthermore, these equalization payments have not led to the economic development in the areas receiving them, ensuring that the system will never end. The country's economy continues to plummet, losing nearly a third of its gross domestic product since 2012. And yet this is seen as better? Oh, I would disagree. Iceland. I saved the best for last because this one cracks me up, frankly. Iceland is a country half the size of the least populous state in the US that makes most of its money from tourism and fishing. Their climate and geography also grant them with a tremendous amount of geothermal energy to cut costs on energy production to virtually zero. Their country is entirely homogenous with a singular culture and almost no political dissidents, and yet they're still not socialist. They too are a successful free market economy that has used the profits of their success to create a multitude of socialist programs. With a population of less than 400,000 people, the vast majority of which all live in the same city, it's rather easy to supply them with amenities and services, especially since the taxes are, once again, extremely high, bordering on 50%. So where are all the democratic socialist countries? Well, they don't exist. They never have, and they never will. My opponent doesn't seem to understand that what he's arguing in favor of just simply isn't real. Imagine for a moment I said, I'm not arguing for Nazism, I'm arguing for democratic Nazism. Putting it to a vote doesn't change the effect. You know, he swiftly ignores the horrors of Venezuela, Cuba, China, and the USSR, repeating the leftist mantra that those are not democratic socialist countries without realizing that there is no such thing. He wants a country he doesn't live in to adopt an economic system he doesn't understand. Now, before this debate, I actually asked him to clarify some things, and he said that basically what he wants is for the policies of Bernie Sanders to take over the United States. He wants Bernie Sanders to become president and to implement his policies. And Bernie Sanders embodies all the nastiest and most hateful aspects of socialist mindset. While his platform in 2016 was to redistribute the wealth of the millionaires and the billionaires, his 2020 platform has been focused almost exclusively on billionaires. That might have something to do with the fact that in 2017 he made over $2 million from his book sales. I wonder how much of that he donated to charity, helping the poor he poses to care so much about. Less than 2%. Of which he immediately received back in tax deductions, the deductions that he says he wants to forego. Bernie has openly advocated for the forcible redistribution of wealth from the rich. Note, again, only billionaires. Millionaires are okay all of a sudden. This is also a sentiment that we see on the webpage for the Democratic Socialists of America. Of course, this sort of endeavor could only be accomplished by the gun, which my opponent had just mentioned he was against, and seems to be a tenet of the Democratic Socialist mindset. Much like his young comrade, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a woman who wears $5,000 suits and eats at restaurants that charge more for a bowl of soup than I make in an hour, Bernie has demonstrated little to no interest in actually helping the poor. He serves to benefit from a socialist government because he sits in a position of power. Every tyrant of the past has always found some scapegoat to rally the people against. For Mao, it was the Christians. For Hitler, it was the Jews. And for Bernie, it was the bourgeoisie, the evil billionaires. For a politician who claims to stand for love and caring, he sure does preach a lot of hate and malice. As is the way for socialism. Socialism depends on people hating those who are better off than they are. It is, as Churchill once said, the philosophy of failure, the creed of ignorance, and the gospel of envy. Now, allow me to dismantle some of my opponent's contentions with capitalism. One of his issues is that the market doesn't properly sort out bad actors and causes monopolies, and it creates a system where the majority of the people in the country own less of the wealth than the vast minority of the country. And I agree, sometimes the system fails us, but it's frankly the best system we have to date. Let the market handle it is to reject a one-size-fits-all centralized rule of arbitrarily selected experts. It is to endorse an unfathomably complex arrangement for dealing with the issue at hand. Recommending the market over government intervention is to recognize that neither he who recommends the market nor anyone else possesses sufficient information and knowledge to determine or even to foresee what particular methods are best for dealing with the problem. To recommend the market, in fact, is to recommend letting millions of creative people, each with different perspectives and different bits of knowledge and insights, voluntarily contribute his own ideas and efforts towards dealing with the problem. It is to recommend not a single solution, but instead a decentralized process that calls forth many competing experiments and then discovers the solutions that work best under the circumstances. No system works perfectly, but socialism doesn't work at all. Of course, the ultimate contention my opponent offers is that of privatized healthcare. I would agree that the cost of medical services in the United States is high. What's worse, though? A system of free healthcare that's never available to you due to year-long waiting periods for treatment and a constant shortage of medication? Or an expensive healthcare system that you're free to take advantage of at any given moment, though you have to foot the bill? There are a multitude of programs in place for people who cannot afford healthcare. But the uncomfortable truth is, at the end of the day, healthcare is not a right, it is a service provided to you by working people. Any service provided to you by the government should be in strict concordance with the Constitution, which healthcare is not. So in order for the United States to adopt democratic socialism, it would have to abandon the Constitution, and with it, all of the rights and liberties we as Americans exclusively enjoy. That's my time.
All right. Now we're going to begin the 20-minute open discourse.
No, he gets a rebuttal.
Oh, he gets another rebuttal? My bad.
Yeah, opening, rebuttal.
Okay, my bad. 10-minute rebuttal, Religion.
Wow, okay. That was so much awful. Okay. So, first off, taxes are marginal. I just wanted to kind of point that out. They are marginal. Population does not matter one iota to democratic socialism. I don't know if you heard it. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. When I said before that there was not one single study anywhere that says that if bringing democratic socialism into America would lead to economic ruin, it just doesn't exist. So population does not matter. You had mentioned with one of the countries that I listed that it's basically all just one culture. What does differing cultures have to do with anything? I'm completely just at a loss there. Secondly, you have brought up the fact that I'm Irish. Again, why does that matter? So because I'm Irish doesn't mean that I can't have an opinion on American politics. I didn't see that in the Constitution you seem to love so much. Bernie's taxes. This is so it's so weird. It's so just an awful, like just ridiculously like grasping at straws level of smear attack. Yeah, Bernie earned a lot of money because he wrote a book. For the last 40 years, he was then and is still the poorest member of the Senate because he doesn't take in money from lobbyists or from special interest groups, etc. He has freely admitted that if he becomes president, his taxes will go up and he will happily pay them. So this whole thing about like his taxes is just ridiculous to me. His plan does include millionaires, by the way. His tax plan is to have a 70%, again, marginal tax rate on $10 million. So this whole thing about now he's just focusing on billionaires, that's just patently false. You had said that socialism sorry, that Bernie's spouts hate. I'm sorry, and Trump is so fucking innocent. What about the Mexicans who are rapists and murderers? Trump doesn't spout hate, I guess. All right, fine. That's the logic that we're working with. I suppose we can move forward. I don't have any issues with capitalism. That is a blatant straw man, by the way. What I am advocating for is to keep capitalism at its base and just implement some socialist policies, i.e., Medicare for all, free college, etc., etc. That's what I am advocating for, and that is what Bernie is advocating for. That is also what Canada, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Iceland, the list goes on and on and on. That's what all of them do. They keep capitalism, but they give things like healthcare and education free at the point of service to its citizens. That's it. I agree that socialism does not work. Why can't we get past this point? I am not defending socialism. So can we please stop bringing up socialists and socialist countries? And I am not defending it. So why you're bringing it up is just ridiculous. The markets settle it. All right, okay, let's go for this. Let's just go with that one. The US has been operating under a free market system almost since its foundation. And look at where you are. You have thousands upon thousands of homeless people, thousands of homeless veterans, which as a Republican, you're supposed to you have millions of people who don't have health insurance or who are underinsured. You have 78%. I said this at the start, 78% of your country living paycheck to paycheck cannot afford an unexpected bill of more than $400. That's fucking pennies comparatively. Like the market is the reason why you're in this situation. It will not settle it. And now we're going to move on to the topic that I arguably care the most about, which is healthcare. So you had mentioned that you were going to be waiting a year for a consultation, etc. That's for elective procedures. So if you need a fucking chin surgery, yeah, you might have to wait a while, but that's okay because the guy who desperately needs a gallbladder transplant is going to get it. This is how healthcare should work. Okay, this is how it should work. If you get sick, you get help. End of. There is no possible reason why there should be a profit motive when you are determining the well-being and general functionality of someone's life. There is no reason why there should be any sort of profit margin attached to that. If you get sick, you get help. Done. Simple. You are not free to access healthcare right now. You're just not. Technically, yeah, okay, maybe you are, but you can't afford it. If you can't afford it, then you can't get healthcare. It's like Why is this difficult for you? Like, you have access to go to any sort of private health insurer that you like and say to them, I'm going to give you X amount of money. You have the freedom and access to do that. But as we said, 78% of the country cannot do that. I yield the rest of my time.
All right, well, then we're going to begin the 20-minute open discourse. So, go ahead, guys. Have at it.
RIB,
well, I've done enough talking, so you go ahead.
RIB, what's democratic socialism?
I think I explained it not 2 minutes ago. It's keeping capitalism at its base. So if you want to, you can go out and buy an iPhone every year, but you just get access to the socialist policies, i.e. healthcare and education, and on and on and on.
Democratic socialism is a term used to refer to the socialist political philosophy which advocates political democracy alongside a socially owned economy.
Okay, please stop, because I started to interrupt. Because dictionaries are not authorities.
So the definition of democratic socialism probably doesn't matter then, right? Is that what you're saying? By the way, that's not the dictionary, buddy. That's the Democratic Socialists of America. That's their platform.
Oh my God, are you going to stop interrupting me, or are you going to let me finish?
Go ahead, buddy.
Okay. They don't... Oh God, okay. Words don't have meaning, they have usages. And when you are talking about bringing socialism into a democratic country, or bringing it in democratically, what that process does, look at Canada. They have their free markets, they have their access to the new iPhone every year, but they have free healthcare. Simple. That's what I want. So if we could please, and I genuinely mean this, please stop with the pussyfooting around socialism and actually talk about what I'm defending, that would be appreciated.
Well, the motion
is... Jump in for a second. Hold on. All right, if we can keep the anger down and just kind of keep on point, then that would be
I'm trying to, but it's becoming very difficult. I'm just gonna...
Okay, so the motion is, should the United States adopt democratic socialism? And you seem to be using democratic socialism as a blanket term for any socialist program. It's not. Democratic socialism is a very specific
capitalism at its back. Are you capable of listening?
RIB?
Why are you not listening to me?
Because you are not arguing for the motion. You are arguing that the United States should keep capitalism, but then go and add more socialist policies. That's not democratic socialism.
Democratic socialism. Yes,
no, it isn't. That's absolutely not what it is, according to every economic definition and the webpage of the Democratic Socialists of America. Who agrees with you, RIB? Where is your source for that claim?
Do you want me to go through the list of countries again?
I just told you most of those countries aren't democratic socialists by their own admission. The Nordic model is not
socialist.
Democratic socialist. The Nordic model is not democratic.
Socialist by their own admission.
RIB. The Nordic model.
With you.
The Nordic model is not democratic socialist either by their own admission. They are extremely successful capitalist countries that have become so wealthy they can afford.
Please stop. Please. Okay. Just because you call yourself something or don't call yourself something doesn't mean that you are that something. So if you're saying that the Nordic countries are not examples of democratic socialism and you were taking them at their word, literally using that logic, you are then saying that North Korea is a democracy.
No.
Because they call themselves the Democratic People's...
Because we can also look at the operation of their economy. Just because you call yourself
something doesn't mean that you are that something. Just because the Nordic countries are not calling themselves democratic socialist countries does not mean that they are not democratic socialist countries, and they are.
Your definition of democratic socialism is entirely invented. It doesn't match any economic dictionary. It doesn't match the Democratic Socialists of America page. And if I go and look, how about this? Why don't we go to the Democratic Socialists of Ireland?
How about we don't? How about we go what Bernie is advocating for and the fact that he calls himself a democratic socialist, and that's exactly what I want. How about we just stick on point?
Because people call themselves something doesn't mean they necessarily are that, right? Isn't that what you just said?
Yeah.
Okay, Bernie is not advocating for democratic socialism. He's advocating for a free market economy where the government just spends a whole lot more and gets more intervened with people's lives.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, and that's what democratic socialism is.
No, dude, who agrees with you on that? Every
Bernie!
dictionary.
Bernie!
So what? So what? He's wrong. He's wrong. Not only according to the Democratic Socialists of America, but every single economic dictionary. There's nothing different between socialism and democratic socialism.
Fucking dictionaries again. Dictionaries are not authorities, dude.
But you are, I suppose.
No, I didn't say that. I said the dictionaries weren't.
Okay, but what other method of determining what a word means do you have?
Words don't have meanings. They have usages.
Aha. Okay. Debate's over, guys. I guess they don't have meanings. This is actually kind of frustrating. So, if I go and look up democratic socialism, I get a variety of responses, none of which are anything remotely close to what you're describing. And all of the Nordic countries have unequivocally disabused the notions that they are democratic socialist because of the way their government operates.
Okay, no. We're seriously going to have to move past this point because we're going around in circles. I have already said I don't care if they don't call themselves democratic socialist countries. They are. So we're either going to
based on what?
Agree to disagree,
based on
or
what?
we're just going to keep going around.
Based on what, RIB? What are you basing that assessment off of?
Are we going to keep going around in circles? Because I don't think that that's going to be very entertaining for your audience to go around in circles for 20 fucking minutes.
All right, let's keep it on track, guys.
We can.
That's what I'm trying to do. Apologetics, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to move past.
I'm perfectly comfortable going around in circles for 20 minutes until you provide evidence for the claim that those countries are democratic socialists.
Well, I'm not comfortable doing that. So if you want to rant to yourself whilst I mute my mic and let the 20 minutes run down, you fucking work away, dude. But I'd actually like to have a conversation and have a debate on the various issues rather than just this one that you seem so hyper-focused on.
Because that's the motion. That's what we're supposed to be debating, is should the United States adopt democratic socialism? And according to, at the very least, according to the Democratic Socialist Party in my country, that's what democratic socialism is. So if I were to adopt democratic socialism in America, logically, that would be based on the principles that the Democratic Socialists of America Party present, which is the forcible redistribution of wealth, forced outcome of equality of outcome.
Oh, Jesus Christ Almighty! Let's talk about healthcare, shall we? Because I'm seriously bored now, and I just want to move the fuck on because this is just like this is borderline ridiculous.
I'll move on to healthcare.
Move on and have a conversation.
Yeah,
okay, sure.
I will move on to healthcare on one condition.
Why don't you want socialized medicine? What?
I will move on to healthcare on the condition that you admit that your definition of democratic socialism is found nowhere.
Well, then we're going to keep going in circles for 20 minutes, and I'm going to mute
my mic. All you've got to do is show me where your definition of democratic socialism is. Okay, I guess he stopped participating. Yeah, I'm not finding anything that shows democratic socialism is just regulating the economy. That's not at all what it's presented as. So I'm going to go ahead and just take a knee on this one since RIB doesn't want to participate. Okay, RIB, let's talk about
healthcare.
I
do want to participate. I do want to participate. I would just like to actually go somewhere rather than running around in circles. That's all.
Right, but the motion is, should the United States adopt democratic socialism? The motion has nothing to do with healthcare.
I'm trying to argue. Well, it kind of does. I would like to argue for it. So if you could let me, then that'd be fantastic.
Go ahead.
You want to talk about healthcare?
I mean, we can. That's not the motion, but go ahead.
Okay. Why don't you want socialized medicine?
Because who pays for it?
Oh, who pays for it? I'm so glad that you said that. I'm so glad that you said that. Okay, so you've had a rant for about 5 minutes. Now it's my turn. You currently pay for someone else's healthcare. Unless you think that private health insurance companies work like this, that you pay in a certain amount of money every single week and they put it away in your own personalized piggy bank that you can then call on if you get sick, unless that is how you think private health insurance works, you are already paying for someone else's healthcare. All Bernie wants to do is keep that specific part of it, make it cheaper for you, and cover everybody. So you're already paying for someone else's healthcare.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you. Is that? Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! How do you think private health insurance works?
I don't have private health insurance. I work for the government.
That's not what I asked you. I don't care
You
if you
said-
don't have it. How do you think it works?
RIB, you said I'm paying for other people's health insurance. I am not. I don't have private health insurance. I work for the government.
People who have private health insurance pay for other people's health insurance.
Yeah, that's bullshit. They shouldn't have to do that.
But they're how else is a private health insurance company supposed to work? I genuinely did not think that I would be defending
So
private health insurance.
RIB, hold on. So your argument is that they're already paying for other people's insurance, and that's not working.
Because everybody is not covered, and there are 17 million people in your country that do not have health insurance. That
Right.
32,000 of which will die this year because they don't have access to basic healthcare. That is what Bernie is trying to stop, and that is what I am arguing in favor of. Your first criticism of socialized medicine was who was going to pay for it.
Yeah, which
Everybody is going to pay for it. Healthcare is not free. Healthcare is not free. It's free at the point of service. So you go into a doctor, you don't take your wallet out. You go into a doctor, you get your prescription, and then you walk the fuck home. You don't take out your wallet. Why is this difficult?
because you still haven't answered the question.
Which question have I not imaginarily answered?
Who's gonna pay for it? You just said it's not. You just said, RIB. Hold on. Let me go through this. You just said, one, it's not free. Two, people are already all paying for it, and it's somehow still not working, which would be run counter to the narrative you're trying to present. But the main point. Hold on. Wait.
Are you gonna let me answer? Because you asked me a question. So
Are you gonna let me answer?
Or
are you gonna let me answer? Because I've been sitting here listening to you.
Question, and then you started asking a second one. So are you gonna let me answer the first one, or what's happening right now?
I was trying to respond to what you said there because you were talking about basically the model that you want, and I was responding to it. But go ahead, RIB. I'll let you. No, I'll let him continue.
All right. Oh, okay. So this is so frustrating because you're clearly not listening to me. Because the things that you are asking me, I have already addressed. So you asked me who is going to pay for it. Everybody is going to pay for it. But you are going to be paying less than what you would through private health insurance. Everybody is covered. For everybody, it is free at the point of service. There is literally no upside to keeping private health insurance. Private health insurance, as of right now, over a 10-year period, costs $55 trillion. Medicare for All, from a Koch brother sponsored study. So if you're going to say it's biased, you can go fuck yourself.
Okay, so one
said it's going to cost $34 trillion, Medicare for All. So it is going to save, by a Koch brother study, $11 trillion over 10 years.
Okay.
You are covering everybody. It's cheaper for you. You have more money in your pocket. And it's cheaper for the government as well. What is the upside to keeping private health insurance?
So, number one, I never said there was an upside to keeping private health insurance.
Then why are you arguing against socialized medicine? Because
that's a false dichotomy. You don't need. It's not either we have privatized health insurance or we have socialist medicine. Those aren't the only two options.
Well,
so wait, hold on. I'm not done.
One or the other.
No, that's not one or the other. There are a multitude of other pathways we could take with that. But the other thing is that you are comparing the government paying out $35 trillion to people paying out $35 trillion. Okay, the government can't give out anything it doesn't take from other people. That's not how the government doesn't have its own funds. It takes from people and then gives to others. So it's the same result in either direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you know how Bernie is going to pay for it? Have you heard how he's going to pay for it? No.
Well, I would have heard how he's going to pay for it if he would actually tell us, but he doesn't. He skates around the question.
Well, okay. You obviously haven't been to his website then, or heard him in basically any interview that isn't on a debate stage. What he is going to do is implement a tax on Wall Street. You guys bailed them out in 08, I believe it was. It's their turn now. He is going to end all 9 of the illegal offensive wars that your country is currently engaged in. The increase to the military budget just this year was $700 million. You want to end those wars, you're going to instantly pay for Medicare for all for 10 years, never mind any of the taxes. He is going to increase marginal tax rates. He is going to close the loopholes so that you can't pay less taxes. He is going to force Amazon to actually pay a cent in taxes, amongst several other things.
You know what I heard in that? Force. A whole lot of force. Huh. Reminds me of a definition that I read a minute ago.
So you're disagreeing with me because I said force, but
Yeah.
in that list, I included Amazon actually pay taxes. Do you think that they should be allowed to pay no taxes?
Do you have a source for them not paying taxes?
Are you for fucking real?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Seriously, dude. Seriously. That is one of the
I'm not
most
gonna
well-known things. You pointed to twice. I counted it twice to the point that I am Irish, and yet I know more about what one of your American companies pay in taxes than you do.
Okay, RIB. If he asks for a source, you should give him a source, not just say "I know," which is.
Well, you're gonna have to give me a second then, because I don't have it offhand.
Okay, then ask for a second to get the source.
USA Today.
Okay.
Link it in
USA
the
Today.
You can link it, bro.
CNBC, France 24, Fortune.com, USA Today again, Natural Review, Business Insider, and the Washington Post. Do I have to go on, or is that enough for you?
Okay, but you can link them so I can read them. But what I think you're actually talking about is that they didn't pay any income tax, not that they didn't pay taxes overall. So is that what you're arguing? That they didn't pay any federal income tax?
They didn't pay any taxes.
So you're saying they didn't pay any taxes at all? Are you sure about that? They are the largest distributing company in the world. They paid no taxes. You gonna maintain that position?
Yeah.
You do realize Amazon operates in countries outside the United States, right?
Yeah, and they pay absolutely no taxes in Ireland as well, which is
so
one
the
of their headquarters.
Pinnacle of democratic socialism, and they don't pay taxes anyway. No, they don't pay any income tax.
I didn't say that Ireland was the pinnacle of democratic socialism, but nice straw man. Continue, please.
Do they pay any taxes in any country?
None that's been reported, or none that can be found of evidence
for. They pay taxes.
There's no evidence of them paying taxes.
No, there's no evidence of them paying federal income tax, because they are not relegated to one country. They operate in all countries, and they have special deals to keep them off the market.
I've already told you that they don't pay income taxes in Ireland, which is where their headquarters.
Yeah, but not paying income tax and not paying any tax is entirely different. I don't pay income taxes. Okay, there are ways to get around paying income tax. I still pay property taxes. I still pay sales tax. I still pay shipping taxes. Like there's no way Amazon avoids paying taxes with as much as they have to, they have to purchase.
You see, all Amazon has to do is base their headquarters in one country. So Ireland has the lowest corporation tax in all of the EU, which means that basically because we are in the EU, they get free trade into other EU countries.
Okay, hold on.
Because we have the low. He's just said a minute left. You're gonna let me continue, man? Because you asked me a question, I'm trying to answer it.
Go ahead.
They don't pay any taxes in Ireland, despite the fact that we have the lowest corporation tax. Because of that, then they can distribute to all other EU countries. There is no, and I mean no evidence. There is no forms, no papers, no nothing to say that Amazon pays taxes.
So, just briefly before the time concludes, you just acknowledged why they don't pay federal income tax, because they're headquartered. There is no official headquarters for any country. So, what you're suggesting is, yeah, they're getting around the rules legally.
They run their business through Ireland that has the lowest taxes, and yet they don't pay any.
So we should force Amazon. We should take away their right to operate.
20 minutes.
To not pay taxes, yeah, we should take away that right. Let's move.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna start the 5-minute closing for each of you, and then head on to the Q&A. RIB, you want to go ahead and go first?
Is it actually sorry? Is it okay if I go second?
You want to go second? That's fine.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Oh man, you want to go ahead?
For my closing, you want me to go first? Yeah, I can do that if you want me to go first.
I mean, he asked for it, so.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Just give me a minute. Pull up my closing.
I'll start your timer whenever you start talking.
Okay. All right. In closing, I would like to highlight something else that makes the United States immune to democratic socialism, and this is what I actually touched on before the debate. We are not one government. We are 50 independent sovereign states who have unionized, creating the greatest country the world has ever seen. Don't at me, bro. Democratic socialism, or let's be real and just say socialism, depends on a centralized, uncontested government. If the United States were to adopt this ideology, we would have to dissolve our union, forcing hundreds of millions of people with irreconcilable cultural and social differences to now collectively labor away for the benefit of those who don't labor. Socialism is an ideology which puts the society above the person. The collective is more valuable than the individual. The problem is that society is made up of individuals. Whether implemented through violence, or as my opponent would prefer, unrepentant majoritarian democracy, socialism rejects private property rights, the family, and most alarmingly, differences of opinion, eventually eroding social bonds and trust of kinship. The United States is the world's bastion of differing opinions and ideological dissent. It's literally the First Amendment of our beloved Constitution. Losing the right to speak our minds is an immediate pathway to losing the right to have our minds. Our rights, our sense of self, and our drive to improve our society will vanish quicker than candlelight in a blizzard. Socialism fails not just because it's dumb, but because it is directly antithetical to the human condition. We're not a monolith, and any governing body that would view us that way has immediately devalued us, and we've effectively surrendered our very personhood. A society that hates the idea of self-reliance is indistinguishable from a society that hates the idea of self. My opponent throughout this entire debate did not argue in favor of democratic socialism. He argued in favor of a capitalist society with more socialist policies. And despite numerous challenges to provide a definition of democratic socialism that matched what he offered, he could not. He adamantly refused and continually changed the conversation. The topic shifted from what is democratic socialism to healthcare to taxes. Every single time, immediately after I asked him a question he didn't want to answer. Democratic socialists have it in their mind that their way is the only way. They hide behind the facade of democracy, and while it's true that you can vote your way into that hell, you will never be able to vote your way out. That's my time.
All right, then, RIB, you want to start?
Yeah, okay. I am not saying that it is the only way, or that it is the that it's the best way, or that we don't know that it's going to happen. We do know that it's going to happen because we have a long list of countries to look at where it just objectively has worked. I thought the reason why I said at the start of my opening argument now an hour ago that we should stop the lies, smears, and general attacks is because that was something that I was genuinely interested in doing. Anybody can notice that I did not attack a single Republican policy. I attacked the private health insurance companies, sure, and I will continue to do so until I will likely never stop. but I did not attack any of the policies that my opponent is in favor of, because that's something that I genuinely want to happen. Yet my opponent would not grant me the same courtesy. It has been so often combined, democratic socialism and socialism. What my opponent is essentially saying in that, because Canada is governing under democratic socialism and because Venezuela is governing under socialism, my opponent makes the claim that Canada and Venezuela are basically the same country, same quality of life, same outcome, same everything, absolutely everything. There's no difference in them at all, apart from the people. There's no, other than that, there's no difference at all. That is a ludicrous statement, patently false. You have not stopped from straw manning. I don't believe, I am open to being corrected, I don't believe that I have offered any single straw man fallacy, but again, I'm open to being corrected on that. In all honesty, it doesn't. No, I'm not going to say it like that. The vast majority of Americans already agree with the template that is being set out by Bernie Sanders, Warren, etc. And simply because you voted yourself into something does not necessarily mean that you cannot vote yourself out of it. We have voted ourselves in. Well, I didn't partake in it, but you as Americans have voted yourself into the situation that you are currently in right now with President Donny Boy, and we will vote him out in 2020. That is the end of my time.
All right. Well, I guess we'll start the Q&A now. It'll be 30 minutes or until everyone's out of questions. Just remember that you have to direct your question towards someone, and if you want both of them to answer, you need to direct the question towards both of them. It's going to be a first come, first serve basis, so go ahead and start putting your questions in the chat.
Just type a 1 if you want to ask a question, and Apologetics will assign you the role of questioner.
All right, Young P, you're going to go first. How do I?
Young P, you can get on the chat. You're going to have a role and be able to talk.
Okay, honestly, how the hell do I give someone a role?
Dude, it's fine.
You got it?
Yeah, you just got to right-click them. I don't think you can do it on mobile, actually, so.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm on my way to my girlfriend. She's
All right, Young, you're connected, buddy. Young, go ahead, bud. You can talk. It shows that Young is on mobile. So Young, if you go, you got to click on the chat and connect to it, and you'll be able to talk.
You want me to just read out his question for him?
Yeah, that's fine. I guess he doesn't want to talk.
All right, his question is for Religionisbullshit. He asks, what makes him think that Venezuela is not democratic socialism?
Because it has completely abandoned capitalism. I don't really know how much else you want me to go on that, but yeah, I mean, like that's kind of basically it. They have abandoned capitalism, and they have handed the government over to a socialist means of governing, which is something that I am not in favor of. It was under Dem socialism, but it's not anymore. And when it was under democratic socialism, Venezuela thrived. Absolutely thrived. But then as soon as it moved to socialism, as which happened with almost every other country that did so, now it's fucked. So yeah.
All right, next question. Anybody else got a question?
Oh, got somebody typing.
Yeah, we got a few people typing.
Once again, if you guys want to come on the mic and ask a question, you're free to do so. You don't have to type it. Just type out who wants to ask, give you a role and you can come in and talk.
I just type a 1.
I don't know. Maybe they just want to type out their questions. It seems to be the case.
I mean, I'm fine with reading them out. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I'm kind of fine with that as well. I don't really care.
Boy, they sure are typing a lot.
Yeah, these are
All right,
extensive
that Cali
questions.
kid. Okay, here you go, buddy. I'm giving you the role. You can come in. Apologetics, please mute, because whatever's going on in the background of your mic is about to give you an aneurysm.
Yeah, sorry, I'm driving. My bad. I'm
Okay.
sorry to us too.
All right, Callie, here you go, man. Or Cal, Callie, whatever. You're coming in. All right, buddy. You're in.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Yep.
RIB. Do you stand by your statements? Do you think they are correct? Because I feel like my bad is
Which statements are we talking about? Because I made a lot of them.
the ones considering Venezuela as well.
The ones considering Venezuela that it is a socialist country and no longer a democratic socialist country. Yes, I absolutely stand by that.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right, it looks like.
There's one more question in the text chat.
Oh, there is. I didn't see it.
Where is it? Just some white man. He's asking RIB, can he define democratic socialism for me and provide a source for his definition?
Define democratic socialism. I mean I did it several times. I don't really know, like, kind of know why this is coming up again. Dem socialism keeps capitalism at its base, so you can still buy your iPhone every single year, but it just offers more socialist type policies, such as healthcare, education, etc., etc., etc. That's basically what democratic socialism is. And as far as the source, like, I don't like. I didn't just say it as like an off the cuff thing or like a throwaway statement. Dictionaries are not authorities. Words do not have meaning. They have usages. So democratically putting in socialist policies, to me, is what I said. Keeping capitalism and bringing in more socialist policies. That's it.
All right. So that seems like pretty much all the
That's the definition for me. Yeah, that's the working definition that I have. Dude. That's it.
Force.
You want to just give it a second and see if anybody else is going to ask?
It's not force.
I didn't say force. I said source, as in source
actually,
that.
I want to ask you a question real quick. RIB.
Yeah.
When OhMan says that it's forced, claim that it's not. How do you expect the government and all the governing body in general to take money from people without force?
Say that again?
I think I just heard a cricket.
The governing body to get the money without using force. Like, if they don't want to give 90% of their income or however much when they're in the upper class, how do you expect them to, like, get it from them without using force?
Okay, so first off, it's not 90%, although it's kind of interesting that you used that number because it was 90% back under FDR and people didn't really seem to have an issue with it then. I don't know how you can, like, because, well, you can sort of not force it, but you can give them the opportunity. You can give them the choice. You can say, okay, well, we're going to raise the top marginal tax rate to 70%, which is what has been proposed. And as everybody knows, if you don't pay your taxes, then you go to jail. So it's not really forced. You are giving them an option of a kind. It's a shitty one, but you are giving them the choice.
Okay, so telling them that they're going to go to jail if they don't give their money up is not force?
Yeah, it's a very, very, very unbiased moderator you got there. Well done.
I'm just asking a question.
He's asking a question, RIB. He's not doing anything to you.
But I mean, is it not forced now then? Given that the top marginal tax rate is not 70%? is it not forced now that it's at 28, or I think it's 35 is the top marginal as it is now? Is that not force?
I mean, ask any libertarian and they'll tell you it is force.
Well, yeah, but I think that they're all insane. Like you live in a society. If you don't want
A well-rounded
access to the
argument.
police, if you don't want access to the police department, fire department, libraries, public hospitals, etc., 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 then sure, stop paying taxes and go live somewhere else where taxation is not a thing. I'm pretty sure you'll be begging to come back in a few days, though. Taxation is what even libertarians, even the most hardened libertarian, if you actually press them on it, will say that it is a necessary evil. I don't consider it to be an evil, but it is a necessity.
All right. I don't see any more questions in the chat, so do you guys want to just give it a minute, or?
Well, we can. What I'll do is we can just end the recording of the debate, and if RIB wants to just hang out for a little bit, I will unlock the chat room, and anybody can just come in. You know, the conversation can continue. But as of right now, since nobody else is asking questions, well, I mean, Cali Kid just asked me a question, but it's a joking question, so it's not meant to be serious. I'll go ahead and just end the recording, and then we can just open the chat room up, and people can talk if they want. They can just deliberate the subject on their own.
Just so I'm kind of saying this now, and at the top, I can stick around for another 15 minutes, maybe give or take a few, but roughly 15 minutes is what I can stay around for.
I'm gonna go to bed in about an hour and a half, and get some more sleep before I got to go to work tonight. But I'll hang out. Recording stops in 5, 4, 3, 2.